Speed Dating, A Day at the Races by Nora Louise Syran, based for the moment just outside of Chicago, Illinois, USA. For the Writer's Block Radio Hour. A friend of a friend and I arrived for our maiden race. Our first, and for me, my last, speed dating experience. The men breezed and snorted in the back corners of the bar's upper room, while the women trotted off to the restroom to get saddled and ready to parade themselves before the race began. I had a long look at myself in the mirror, adjusted my black-framed glasses, which looked more like a horse's blinkers, to keep me from shying away from objects and other horses, and wished for the umpteenth time that I'd bothered to order contact lenses. A bell sounded. I felt like I was still in school. "What do you do?" asked my first date. And there it was, out in the open, the din of the bell still ringing in our ears, and I reply, "I'm a teacher." Oh, God! I'd gone and done it. How much more unsexy could I make myself? I just can't lie. "Tell them you are a writer who is supplementing your self-teaching," my sister advised as I was getting ready to leave. Out of the 13 men that night, I marked 4 as being potential matches. Men who were funny and intelligent, and in 5 minutes managed to somehow engage me. "What were they like?" my sister asks, the following evening, half listening to me as she cradles my little nephew in her lap. "Well, there was a nice guy with whom I laughed and laughed and laughed. A guy who asked me over and over and over about me, and a guy who was so nervous he shook I took pity on him, and another guy who looked me steadily in my eyes as he answered my questions. Good bloodline, nice pedigree, at least 14 hands high. Well, of those 4 men, I had no matches. That basically means that of those 4 men, not one of them chose me as a potential second date. What the hell is my problem?" "Well," she asks, "what was wrong with the other 9 men? Who didn't you write down?" Well, I did not put down the non-starter, the gorgeous gelding who was about as dull as a lead balloon. I left his badge number blank on my betting card. I did not tick off the springing young colt who laughed at everything I said as if I were a comedian on Saturday Night Live, and threw back his mop of a mane any time another filly caught his eye. And I did not put down the dark horse, Mr. Also Eligible, who, when asked about his background, proceeded to talk about himself, and only in the last few seconds bothered to ask something about me. And in a dead heat for last place, I managed to leave off the long shot, who smacked his bubble gum like a cow chewing its cud, and never once looked in my direction. My sister is reassuring. "Some women would do really well in that 5 minutes, but you're complex. There's no way you can reveal who you are in 5 minutes. But perhaps other women, that's all they have in them, 5 minutes. They can appear sexy, vulnerable, vivacious, and available in 5 minutes. Me? No, I just scare them. "Please tell me you didn't smoke your pipe," my mother pleads, her face becoming pixelated as our connection breaks up. I hang up. It's no use explaining why in my mid-30s I'm still single. She's convinced I'm gay. I honestly feel I did well. Tried hard not to seem too intelligent, too scary. I remembered to ask questions, and most of the time I was the one listening and not the one talking. But what about the men I judged in 5 minutes? One of the guy who was amusing in his challenge to see who'd visited the most countries in the world, but who, when we stood up at the end of the evening, managed only to come up to my chin. Who am I to judge anyone in 5 minutes? "It's not the environment for you," says my sister. "You're not a 5-minute girl." Well then, I need to find myself a non-5-minute man. And when I find him, I'll be betting on him to win, place, and show.